How's it going, y'all? So recently I posted a post on Facebook asking you if you had any questions or any content that you specifically wanted to see about our mini farm. And one of the first messages that I got in my inbox was from Nancy Neal, and she wanted to know how we compost. So let's get started. So one of my favorite ways of composting, and one of the only two ways that I'm currently composting at the moment, is bokashi. And I love bokashi. The reason I love it is because you can do it on a large scale, you can do it on a small scale. You can do it outside, you can do it inside. You can do it in a tiny little apartment in a closet, or you can do it in your room. There's virtually no smell with this. And the other thing that I genuinely love about bokashi is you can break down so much. You can break down bones, cheese, citrus, you know, normally the items you wouldn't want to break down in a compost pile because it would attract rodents or it would take forever to break down. Bokashi is a little difficult, but it's also extremely simplistic. What bokashi is a type of fermentation. Oh, hey, in my ear. It's a type of fermentation, and it's an anaerobic breakdown of food, right? So essentially, if any of you winemakers out there, you guys already know what I'm talking about. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be adding a bacteria. I think there's 3 different types. The biggest one that I know is lactobacillus. Into your food, right? So you have some type of bacteria that's breaking down, turning your what used to be food into usable compost. The way it works is actually really simple. You have a little tray that goes inside of here. Sorry, this isn't clean. I have a second one inside that I've been using. This one's been kind of staying outside because we don't make that much. But you have a little tray that goes in here that lifts it up from this little spout. You can make these at home and you can watch videos on how to make these. I like to just buy them, it's a lot easier. But you have a little tray that goes in, and on that tray you throw a really thin, oh, that is a slug. A really thin layer of the bokashi bran. Now what the bokashi bran is a wheat bran, newspaper, sawdust that essentially is inoculated with, you just keep coming into my ear, that is inoculated with the I'm just gonna hold it, the lactobacillus. And what you do is you're gonna add a thin layer and then 3 inches to 2 inches of your food waste, right? Your chicken bones, your citrus peels, your apple cores, your celery stalks, things that you don't eat. No one eats celery, it usually goes in the refrigerator. You eat a stalk and then throw it away. So instead of throwing it away, you throw it in here, and then you throw about 1 inch or 2 inches. And then you throw another layer of bokashi bran, and then 2 or 3 inches of more food waste, and then a bokashi bran. You layer it up until it gets to the top. You drain it every 2 or 3 days, and in 2 weeks it's usable compost. You know, you don't have to wait as long, and you're not having to add browns. So it's phenomenal. I love it. We have a 2-step method with our bokashi. So when our bokashi is done, we throw it directly into the worm bin and let it compost even more there. So then it really becomes a workable and usable soil, and we're gonna show you that next. So here is my worm bin. I have not taken a lot of care of it recently. I kind of let it go to the wolves. I have a huge fly problem. If you take care of a worm bin, you're gonna have some flies, but nowhere near this many. And the reason why is bokashi, usually when we throw it in here, it's wet, right? You're not throwing any browns into it when you're fermenting it in the bin. So it stays pretty wet. So coming directly into here, your worms stay in excessive moisture, which they actually like, but it attracts different pests. What we would consider pests. Flies are just gonna break it down even quicker. So they're actually not as big of pests as we would think. They're actually gonna help. I just don't like flies flying in my nose and my mouth when I walk out here. It's not that bad. There's things that I'm putting in place right now to kind of minimize that and take care of it. But here is the second version, right? This is the last step before our compost goes directly into our garden. And let's show you what it looks like a little bit closer. So, as you would assume, it is just dirt. Dirt and what was at one point bokashi. Let me find my son was playing with my PVC pipe. Let me find my PVC pipe. So it's literally just some potting mix, some old dirt that was spent, that was used. And let's see if we can find some worms. There goes one. I don't want to disturb them too much. There we go. And that one is a little red wiggler. And then we have a, I forgot what that one's actually called. These ones you can actually buy from Walmart. Why do I not remember their names? I don't remember their names. I will post it in the comments below. But these ones you have to buy online, the smaller ones, they're more voracious eaters. They actually will eat 1/10 their body weight, so a pound will eat 1/10 of a pound in a month. The bigger ones eat a little bit slower, but they're a lot more resilient to the Texas temperature heat. So all in all, just a really simple 2-step process. We go straight from bokashi into our worm bin, and then worm bin straight into our 5-gallon bucket systems, and the 5-gallon bucket systems love it, right? The reason we like to use organic fertilizer that we make instead of store-bought chemical fertilizer, ooh, a mosquito, is because the plants just do better, right? One, and then two, we're not throwing nearly as much away as we normally would. We fill up that indoor composter maybe every 2 weeks. On top of that, we're also picking up compost from our neighbors. But it's insane how much we're saving and pulling it outside of landfills, and then also how much more beneficial it is for our garden. I just finished the book, You Can Farm by Joel Salatin. He goes very slightly into depth about what chemical fertilizers do and how they're not effective after a couple years, because in order for chemical fertilizers to work, they need some type of brown material to bond to break down slower. With this type of fertilization and composting, I mean, I feed my plants once every 3 months, and they love it and they thrive, right? We haven't been on this big of a scale up until now, but just whenever I add small amounts of this to the plants, you can just tell such a huge difference versus the chemical fertilizers that we used to use. I sat in a talk about 3 months ago where they were kind of breaking down how to garden in pots and in planters, and the guy there didn't really speak negatively against chemical fertilizers. He's like, if you want to stay as close to natural as possible, he's like, I'd stay away from herbicides and pesticides. He's like, chemical fertilizers you don't really have too many problems with, but there's just such a huge difference. We did use chemical fertilizers for a little bit on some of our pots just to experiment, but now it's sitting in the garage, and I'm probably gonna try to give it away or just use it for my lawn, because this just is so much better. There's something else that we do too, is we take the bokashi and sometimes just directly throw it into our pots. So bokashi is a little bit acidic, so you kind of want to be careful with that. But this used to be my onion bed, and we just throw our compost directly, or not compost, but our used products directly into here, and with a couple of worms, and just let the worms break it down. So let's see, like we have a tomato right here that Benjamin picked. And then here's just, there we go, beautiful. Here's a banana peel with some worms in it. Yeah, right there. Oh yeah, yep. Look how many worms that is. It's so many, it's kind of nasty. But those are the two ways that we really like to compost. It's just bokashi, worm bin, and just throwing either the bokashi into our bins directly, or putting it, putting just fruit with worms and vegetables with worms in our bins. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Nancy, this one goes out to you. And yeah, I mean, everything's looking really great, guys. The process has been really fun. Keep commenting down below if you guys want to see anything different, or if you want me to go more in depth into bokashi. I actually have a full paper written out that I can just give you facts, what is actually happening, but I didn't want to make a 30-minute video on that. I don't know if anyone would be interested in it. If you are, let me know and I'll make it just for you. So I hope you guys like this video. Please leave a like, comment down below, or subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot, and it's just a lot of fun for me. I really like making this content, and I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying it too. Well, y'all have a good one.